When we lie, we are diluting our creative power. We are giving a message to the universe that we are not careful with our words. Authenticity is the path to freedom. Lying builds a mask over the heart, and soon we ourselves believe that this mask is what is real. And we are also saying that we want our wounds to guide the way. This is not the paradigm we are here to create. It is time to stop playing the small-minded games of the human, and it is time to start creating in the games of the divine. Hello, everyone. We are at week 4 already, a month in, which also tells me that we are a month into 2024 already, which feels really fast to me. I don't know about any of you, but this is sped by this whole month. A definite reflection of the year ahead, I think. So I tapped in before coming on just to get a little sneak preview of what we are talking about and who wants to come through today. And the message and the words that came through were the power of truth telling and the hidden ways we undermine ourselves were the words. I asked who was going to be speaking about this, and it is actually Lilith again. I asked why Lilith would be talking about this, and she was telling me that it's because not telling the truth is related to our shadow side. And so she is very familiar with that, and has some wisdom to share about how to balance that. So she is the one who will be speaking about that today. And before I go into channel, I just thought I would mention that I have been channeling for one-on-one people, for clients, first with friends and then one-on-one with clients. This is my 3rd year now, and it was made clear to me from my own guides that it was time for me to offer my channeling and the gifts that I'm able to bring through to a wider audience. And so that is why I started creating these videos for the YouTube platform. And I still do work with people one-on-one. And it's been a really interesting journey so far to offer this to the public. So I just wanted to mention that some people have been asking me on YouTube and also on Instagram about my story. And I'm sure at some point I will create a video if more want to hear about how I got into channeling and what my journey has been with it. But for now, I just thought I would mention that little brief piece and also share that you're able to book a reading with me at my website, alunyanoel.com. I will leave a link for that down below. So if you want to learn more about the type of readings that I do or learn a little bit more about myself, you can go to my website and see more. Okay, I'm just going to take a moment to tap in. Lilith, what would you like to tell us about the power of truth telling? Lying creates a distortion of our reality. And when we create distortions in our reality intentionally, we are ruining the picture that is before us, which therefore interrupts and hinders our ability to create the reality that we want. She is showing an image that it looks like the image has been made entirely out of paint. And when we lie or intentionally tell a mistruth, it is like we are, while the paint is still wet, we are smudging the entire picture. And so that is distorting reality, not only for ourselves and our own memory and the way that we will recall that experience, but it also is distorting reality for the others who are involved. So whoever is on the receiving end of the lie, or perhaps is affected by the lie, their experience of reality is also distorted, which is doing an injustice, she says. We cannot stand in the light of our valor if we are still she uses I was hesitating, but she uses the term, we cannot stand in the light of our valor if we are still misbehaving as children. That is not how one takes control and responsibility for their own personal reality, and therefore involves themselves as the creator, the creatrix, the writer, the author, the director, the producer of their life. There are many ways to relate to the creative power that flows within all of us. There are many perceptions and ways of seeing how we are involved in the creation of our reality. And no matter where you look, lying dissolves the creative flow and power that is available within each of us. Okay, this is interesting. So she is sharing that when we lie, we are dissolving, that is the word, we are diluting our creative power, because we are saying that our words don't matter. We are saying that we are giving a message to the universe that our words are not very important. We are giving a message to the universe that we are not careful with our words, that we do not use words as the building blocks that they are, as the spells that they are. Therefore, we are limiting our own power and diluting it when we tell mistruths. So it truly is a disservice to ourselves when we lie to another person. Lilith is explaining that it is an injustice. That is the word she has used. It is an injustice to lie to another and to distort their concept of reality. And it is truly the greatest injustice to ourselves and to the creators that we are and that we hold within ourselves. It is a greater injustice to us when we do not show up honestly. And this is why authenticity is the key. Authenticity is the path to freedom. One who shows up authentically will never lie. One who shows up authentically has their heart bared, and their heart is perfect and just enough as it is. Their heart being a representation for their truth and the real truth. When we choose to lie to try and get out of a situation that we find ourselves in that makes us uncomfortable, maybe we think we have done something wrong. we have forgotten something that is important. We've forgotten something that we promised. When we lie about it, rather than receiving the ripple effects, the ramifications, the consequences of our choices, and handling those in the new moment, by lying, we are ruining our chance for life and for our own selves to give us the experience that would help us grow the most in that moment. So Lilith is going with the example of, and would like me to illustrate further, if we have made a promise and we do not fulfill on that promise, we have forgotten it. And the weekend goes by and Monday comes and our colleague or our supervisor comes and asks us about this promise that we fulfilled, that we said we would fulfill on. If we do not express in that moment the truth of our hearts, while being kind to ourselves and not a victim, she wants to be clear. This is not a time to enter victimhood. This is a time to authentically show up with our heart and say the simple and mere facts of what led us to not being able to fulfill on our commitment, even if the simple truth is merely that we forgot. It is much greater and shows the strength of our hearts, the truth of the way that we honor truth in our beings. When we choose to say what happened, regardless of how we think it sounds or how it is going to land with the other. If in this hypothetical example, the supervisor comes and asks you, you express that you have forgotten, then life is now giving you the opportunity to handle the next lesson that is before you. Maybe that is holding with grace the upset that the person, your supervisor, might be expressing with you, and humbly acknowledging and admitting that yes, you did forget, and no, it does not mean that you are not going to uphold your commitments in the future, but you do have a commitment and a responsibility to make up for what has happened. And this is all a very human level, this example. And she is saying this is such a classic day-to-day example. She is using it because so many of us do this. And she says it is so easy and such a habit to lie in what could be considered small, minute ways. And we do not realize how we undermine our own power when we do this. Lying builds a mask over the heart. And soon we ourselves believe that this mask is what is real. And eventually, with the ego and the ego's needs, and she also wants me to add, the ego can also be considered our shadow selves, our inner wounded selves, the different parts of us that are still in pain or have formed from trauma. These are all the same. When we lie and this mask is covering our heart, these different parts of us, they want to believe in the mask, and the mask feels more comfortable for them than the full bearing of our hearts. So we are also, in essence, inviting them to be the leaders of our lives. We are saying yes to what limited guidance and perspective they hold. And we are also saying yes to ourselves and therefore yes to the universe, that we want our wounds to guide the way. This is not the paradigm we are moving into. This is not the paradigm we are here to create. We are building a future. We are building a world in which all beings have the freedom, the safety to walk around and express their full hearts openly with full vulnerability and transparency. And by choosing to play the game of hiding, we are belittling ourselves and denying our own places as the creators in our lives. No more. It is time to stop playing the small-minded, childish games of the human, and it is time to start acting and creating in the games of the divine. Are there practices that would be helpful with this? Genuinely and honestly reflecting on the day. She is sharing a day in review, going through various interactions throughout the day and acknowledging where more authenticity could have been present, where we could have shown up with more of our hearts. And she is also expressing that writing this down is a helpful way to track patterns and to have a real perspective and insight on how much we are afflicted with this idea that we cannot show up in our fullness, which appears in some as lying. So, reviewing your day, journaling about it, particularly on the interactions that was had. She is going on to say there is a more subtle and nuanced reflection that happens within our own selves. And this is a later practice, or a practice that takes a higher awareness, because the ways that we lie to ourselves are oftentimes much harder to discern, to identify, and to disidentify from, to remove ourselves from, to stop the habit of. It is much harder to identify that because these are unconscious patterns that we carry and habits that we have held for as long as we have held them. And that is why she is recommending to start with the interactions that we have with others, because it will be easier to identify in those situations. So, that is all for this message. My energy stays with me. Your energy stays with you. Okay, wow. That was a very strong message. I am going to sit with that. That is a lot of energy, really strong. So I hope that you will give yourself some time to sit with everything that just came through. And as always, please share with me in the comments below your experience with that, if any questions came up for you, what resonated. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Until then, may you remember your magic.